Imagine this. You're 22 years old standing at a crossroads. Your father has just made the ultimate sacrifice, selling 2 acres of your family's ancestral farmland to pay a consultancy firm in a strip mall 3 towns over. They promised you the golden ticket, a student visa to Canada or maybe Australia or the UK. They showed you glossy brochures of a university campus that looks like Hogwarts. They told you that if you just study business management for 2 years, you'll get a work permit, then permanent residency, and finally, you'll be able to bring your whole family over to paradise. So you pack your life into 2 suitcases, you land at Pearson Airport or Heathrow, but when you get to your college, it's not Hogwarts. It's a single room above a pizza shop in a suburban industrial park. And your student housing? It's a mattress on the floor of a basement shared with 6 other people, costing you $800 a month. For the last decade, this was the reality for millions. It was the international student boom. It was a gold rush. Governments wanted the GDP bump. Universities wanted the tuition fees, which are often 3 to 4 times what locals pay. And landlords wanted the rent. Everyone was getting rich except the students. But suddenly, the music stopped. In 2024 and 2025, the Western world woke up with a massive hangover. Borders are tightening. Caps are slamming down. The golden ticket is being revoked. Welcome to the end of an era. Today, we are breaking down the new rules, the geopolitical backlash, and the economic catastrophe that is about to unfold. Let's start with the worst offender in this global game of musical chairs, Canada. For years, Canada was described by immigration experts as the Wild West of international education. If you could fog a mirror and pay the fees, you were in. Between 2013 and 2023, the number of international students in Canada didn't just grow, it exploded, nearly tripling to over 1 million permit holders. That is more people than the entire population of San Francisco dropped into a country with a housing supply that hasn't changed significantly since the 1990s. But the real story isn't the prestigious universities. No, the real story is the strip mall colleges, public colleges in Ontario, desperate for cash because the provincial government froze domestic tuition, realized they had a loophole. They started forming public-private partnerships. Essentially, a reputable public college hours away from the city would license its curriculum to a private career college in a strip mall in the Greater Toronto Area. These private colleges were pumping out diplomas in general arts or hospitality management to tens of thousands of students who never stepped foot on the main campus. Why did the students sign up? Not for the education. They signed up because these diplomas came with the holy grail, the post-graduation work permit. It was a backdoor immigration scheme masquerading as higher education. And then the housing market broke. Rent in cities like Brampton and Surrey skyrocketed. We started seeing reports of hot bedding, where students would rent a bed in shifts. You sleep for 8 hours, then you get up, and someone else sleeps in your spot. Food banks were being raided, the social contract was fraying. So in 2024 and 2025, the Canadian government panicked. They implemented a hard cap, slashing new study permits significantly, bringing the target down to just 437,000 permits for 2025. But here's the detail that ruins the business model. The attestation letter. Now, every province has a quota. To apply for a visa, you need a provincial attestation letter. It's basically a golden ticket before you get the golden ticket. And guess who isn't getting them? The private colleges and the strip mall schools have been effectively zeroed out. The result is chaos. Major public colleges are projecting deficits of hundreds of millions of dollars. The era of the diploma mill to permanent residency pipeline in Canada is dead and buried. If Canada was the Wild West, Australia was the gold rush. But down under, they have a unique problem. Ghost colleges. You arrive in Australia on a student visa attached to a legitimate university. You pay the first semester's fees to get in the door, but 3 weeks after you arrive, you drop out. You transfer to a vocational education and training provider, a cheap private college operating out of an office building. These colleges are ghosts because often nobody goes to class. The students are there to work. They drive Ubers, work in kitchens, and work in construction. The college just marks them as present for a fee, keeping their visa valid. It's a pay-to-play visa scheme. The Australian government, looking at their migration numbers hitting record highs, decided to burn the ghosts. In March 2024, Australia introduced the genuine student test. It sounds like a simple change, but it's lethal. Immigration officers now have broad discretion to ask, does this course actually make sense for your career? If the answer is no, you are rejected. Visa refusal rates for students from key markets like India, Nepal, and Pakistan have hit record highs. But the Australian government didn't stop there. They went for the wallet. They more than doubled the student visa application fee, hiking it to a staggering 1,600 Australian dollars. And that is non-refundable. If you get rejected, the government keeps your money. It is literally a tax on hope. Australia has made it clear. They want high-value students who pay $50,000 a year and leave when they're done. They do not want the gig economy workers disguised as students. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom is effectively burning the lifeboats. For years, the UK had a secret weapon: dependence. If you came for a one-year master's degree, you could bring your family. This was a family investment strategy. But in 2024, the door slammed shut. The government banned international students from bringing dependents. The impact was immediate, with the number of visas issued to dependents falling by 85%. And then came 2025. The government proposed an international levy, a tax on the tuition fees universities collect from international students. Universities are already losing money on domestic students, and now the government wants to tax the profit that keeps the lights on. The result is a financial death spiral. By the end of the 2025 to 26 academic year, 75% of UK higher education institutions could be in deficit. There are currently 24 providers officially flagged as at risk of insolvency. Imagine paying $18,000 in tuition, and midway through your semester, the university goes bankrupt. In 2025, Britain, that is a genuine risk. And now we arrive at the final boss, the United States. In 2025, with the inauguration of a new administration, the welcome mat was pulled out and replaced with a tripwire. The rejection rate for student visas hit 41%, the highest in over a decade. In late 2025, the White House announced an expansion of travel restrictions, effectively a travel ban 2.0. Nationals from nearly 40 countries will face visa suspensions, including major student source countries like Nigeria and Ghana. It gets worse for those already inside. The Department of Homeland Security proposed a rule to end duration of status. Previously, you could stay as long as you were studying. Now, they want to cap student visas at fixed 4-year terms. Need 5 years for a PhD? Too bad. You have to reapply, pay new fees, and risk rejection all over again. The message from Washington is loud and clear: we don't want you to stay. The bridge from student to worker is being dismantled plank by plank. But here's the part they aren't talking about: the economic hangover. For the last 10 years, international students were a stimulus package. They pumped billions into local economies. In Canada alone, international education contributed over $22 billion annually to the GDP. Now, pull that money out. What happens? The real estate crash. The slumlord millionaire business model is dead. Vacancy rates are creeping up, and we are seeing panic selling. And what about the locals? Do you know why your domestic tuition was so low? Because the international students were subsidizing it. They were paying 4 times the fees so you could pay less. With that revenue gone, universities must either cut programs or raise tuition for citizens. By 2027, domestic tuition fees in the West will rise significantly. The international student boom was a subsidy for the West, and now the bill is coming due. So where do the students go now? Water finds a crack. Germany is watching the Anglospheres retreat and laughing all the way to the bank. Their public universities are effectively tuition-free, and they are handing out opportunity cards to skilled workers. Japan and South Korea, facing a demographic crisis, are simplifying visas and begging graduates to stay and work. We are also witnessing the rise of the East. China is targeting the Global South with full scholarships and direct pipelines into infrastructure projects. Malaysia and Vietnam are positioning themselves as regional education hubs. And then there's India. The Indian government is inviting top foreign universities to set up campuses directly in India. The message to the Indian middle class is changing. It used to be, go West to succeed. Now it is, bring the West here and keep the money in the family. If you're a student planning your future right now, the playbook has changed. The era of the blind bet is over. The golden ticket is now a lottery ticket. Don't look at the university rankings. Look at the immigration minister's latest updates. Specialization is safety. Trade skills, healthcare, and advanced STEM degrees are the only visas that are mostly recession-proof. The international student boom of the 2010s was a wild gold rush. We are now in the correction phase. It's painful and messy, but for the smart and the informed, there is always a way through.